Welcome back. Today I am going to be doing a heater core blockout video. I haven't found a video on how to do a full heater core delete with what hoses need delete underneath the manifold. I don't have an M50 manifold for this car. I probably won't do one because eventually this car is going to get LS swapped, unless I find another clean shell that I can do an LS swap on. So I'm going to do the heater core block off from Condor Speed. It's a $20 plate, comes with bolts and a gasket. Delete all the hoses. It makes it so that there's only 3 hoses left. 4. There'll be 4 hoses. So what you'll end up with is you'll have the lower radiator hose, which comes out of this side of the thermostat. You'll have the upper radiator hose. You will have this hose, which is long and obnoxious because it's not the proper hose for this, but it works. So the vent hose that goes from the top of the radiator to the top of the expansion tank, and then you'll have the hose coming out of the expansion tank to the back of the timing cover. We'll bypass the throttle body one. Actually, we'll just delete it. So I'll take it off the throttle bodies and I'll cap the port for it over here, which can be used later for an aftermarket water temp gauge. So first things first, I've got to get my strut bar off, and I'm going to take the manifold off just to get it out of the way. So I've got to work back here and I want to see everything down here so I can get the hoses proper. Okay, so the intake manifold is off. There's a handful of vacuum lines, one on this nipple, this vacuum line here. There's another one on that little nipple right there. There's a plug, vacuum line, there's a plug, and that's the gist of taking this apart. Go over your gaskets, make sure they're all good. I'm gonna try and delete this CCV while I'm in here. I might be able to find some hose. I've got a catch can. Get this mounted back in where it goes. But yeah, that's off. You come over here and you got a clusterfuck. Somewhere in here is my, like, all the nuts for the intake manifold. I gotta find those. But this port, you can plug it. This comes out and goes into one of the throttle bodies. So we'll delete this hose. This connection here, you need to bring up into here behind the manifold. There's a spot in there to do that. So you'll have to do that. Looks like we might need an OBD1 adapter. And then there's 1, 2, 3 coming out of the heater core. One goes into the spider hose, which is this. It comes out of here, across, and then under, and then up. There's one there. There is one coming off of the back that goes over into the separator, or the control valve, and out of the control valve, and one in, and then 2 coming out. Actually, there's 3 ports. Back of the head to the bottom port, this port into the heater core, and that port into the heater core, and then out of the heater core back into the spider hose. The spider hose is what we're eliminating, essentially. Yeah, that's what we're eliminating. This, the spider hose, and all of those. So The Blockoff Plate takes place of this neck right here. It's hard to see, but it takes place of that. So nobody's ever shown a video of what goes on under here. There's a lot of bullshit. We've got this cleaned out as much as we can. No more hoses going in wherever it's at over here. The 3 hoses. I have the plate off, waiting on the new one in the mail, waiting on the adapter for here in the mail, the OBD2 to OBD1 adapter. Metal pipe is out. There's a vacuum canister down here that's deleted. The emissions thing here deleted on the intake. We've got the CCV off. I have to go get a plug, rubber expanding plug that's this size from the parts store. Plug that with a bolt, cut it off and plug it obviously. But we eliminated this vacuum canister. Those are, I don't know why, but whatever. This little module, the separator, heater valve, this neck on the back, the spider hose, which I did have to cut right here to get it out in one piece without taking all the wiring off. All of these hoses, they're under the intake manifold. These are all heater hoses. Coolant passes through all of these. And this is all these joints and failure points for the E36 cooling system. If it's going to be a track car, delete it. I'll put links in the description below of what I use for the Condor Speed, is the one I use for the Blockoff. The front one comes from Achilles, and I'm just waiting for those in the mail, and then we'll have this thrown back together. So it might be a couple days, but right now I'm going to take and tidy up and zip tie some wires real quick and be done for the day. All right, so you can see now the Blockoff plate from Condor Speed is installed. This is the old water neck for the heater hose. This is oriented this way on the block, so as you can see the shape, and then I flip it over, it's got this triangular 3-sided shape. When you put the Blockoff plate on, it's got to be that direction. Down here for the CCV delete, I've just put a hose with a bolt and 2 hose clamps on it, simple. I went to the parts store and just got a pack of their vacuum plugs, but this one's nice and thick rubber, and then I hose clamped it on here to delete that. This is the one that originally goes into the throttle body. We're just waiting on the piece from Achilles to come in that goes, let's see if we can see the hole. There's a hole right down here that it goes in, right there. And then I will have to attach this hose, which this hose comes over to the expansion tank. I'll have to attach that into there and it'll be done. I bought the one that uses a bolt, and it's gonna be maybe a little hard to see. Let me see which bolt. So it ends up being that bolt on the water pump. I think that's the bolt. I can't see it. Right there, somewheres. On this side you can see where it goes. Right there. The bolt will go through there. So the whole plug neck thing goes in there, and then that bolt gets an extended bolt.
3 days later.
The part from Achilles came in. Double O-ring, the bolt, and place to put your hose. Goes into the block. Comes with the extended bolt, nuts and washers. I've got some hose clamps. How about this to adapt to the factory hose here, the expansion tank hose. And then I just got 2 foot of 7/8 hose because this didn't fit in 3/4. 1 inch was far too big, so we'll cinch down some 7/8 good Gates green stripe hose and it'll be good. A little bit of a bend in it, about like so, and it should be all right. But yeah. Okay, so the first tricky part before you start this process, make sure you have a fan clutch tool. I had to loosen my pulley because the bolt, hopefully you can see it down there, that new one is the one you're going for. With my ratchet, I had to take the pulley loose because I do not have a fan clutch tool. I'm gonna try it, but I don't have a tool, and I'm not buying one because I don't have a clutch fan. I'll borrow one time and get that off there and then be done with it. But yeah, there's the bolt. You can see it's down below the oil filter holder canister. So now I'm gonna go to the other side, and I've already rigged this up. This with a hose clamp and the heater hose. It's gonna go into there with a hose clamp, and we're gonna get this in here and see how it goes. Okay, simple enough. Get the piece in there. There you can see it. The nut is in that orientation, and this is why I put the hose clamp on first. I could use the hose to help push it in, wiggle it in, get it all set in there, get that down. Make sure the bolt is tight from the front first, this direction, because that's what holds the water pump case on, or the front timing cover, or whatever you want to call it, and then run this one in on the back. Then here we'll I'm actually gonna have to change this up just a little bit because my hose is way too long, which whatever, that's fine. I'll get the piece put in here, we'll get it cut to length, and then this part will be done. That block-off plate's already in. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to put the manifold back on because my rag joint decided to explode itself when I was turning wheels to put on new, not crusty fenders. So waiting on that. Should be here Monday. Okay, and here we have the routing coming out. Just a slight bend and hose connected there with a, this is a 3/4. Ultimately, I would love to have proper size hose. So one other option you can do is you can relocate your tank, your expansion tank, to this side, and then use the factory hose here and then cut it appropriately. I just didn't want to do that. I'd grabbed an extra, kept it over there so that it's not in the way of my hose or next to my intake or any of that. But yeah, so I got to get that off there and modify it. Tried to find what the junkyard couldn't. I got to get some wiper arms to make this legal because I'm dumb and threw them away. But this underneath section is pretty well done. So okay, so that's that. Intake is back on, pipe is back on. I eliminated my heat shield thing because it was, we don't need that where we're going. Strut bar is reattached. You can see that the heater core is still in there. The 3 lines are still sitting there. You got to pull the dash to get the intercooler out, or heater core out. So I don't want to do that. Fuel rail's back attached. Vacuum line, fuel pressure regulator down there. So I just teed the 2 small nipples together and connected to the fuel pressure regulator because I eliminated, which one is it? I eliminated the evap purge solenoid. The secondary air pump is also eliminated. The nipple here for the muffler flap, I found out that's what that's for. Don't need that, aftermarket exhaust. Little air filter, these work. I don't have the right attachments and fittings and whatnot to get this big size down to my catch can, which is like 3/8. I've got fuel line that I was going to use, that's -8. But I didn't have fittings to adapt, so this came off of my PW80 dirt bike. I've got one of the old heater hoses in there as a shim, so it's like double layer hose and it's clamped real tight. It works. They can be, I mean, don't have to have all the fanciness. Just putting a filter on it's good. You'll probably smell oil sometimes, but whatever. But yeah, that's it. The delete's done, and I've still got to get the steering shaft fixed, but she is back together. I need to get a windshield and some wiper arms You can see we've got nice unmolested fenders on both sides. These came from carparts.com and they actually fit really well. The body lines are damn near perfect. They're black, but whatever. The old ones were pretty bad. As you can see, they're rusted there. It's supposed to have a little 90-degree coming off there, and they were rolled with a pair of vice grips at one time. And this is the driver one. It had a dent here, so screw that. I also got the ones without the turn signals just to simplify it. But yeah, she's coming along. I got to figure out what the noise in the trans area is, but we should be all good. I'm going to put some fluid in this and then make sure that I don't have any fuel leaks and bleed it and be good to go.